So today I'm back on the Acura Integra. I left it all apart to make sure that it wasn't going to leak anywhere. And you see it's relatively dry. We've had a couple of heavy rains. It's been sitting for about 2 weeks since I did the tail light repair. And as you can see over here in this corner, now this side of the car is low than this side, so you see that over here this is all dry, so this is good. But over here you can definitely see that there's some water in there. It has pooled up, and remember I had sealed all of this, and that seems like a hole, and here's the tail lights, and you can see here's what's left of the caulk I put in there. But it's still leaking water, and it's down here on this side, so it's got to be coming from the antenna, which is the only other hole on this side. And we'll see where it's coming from. I'll show you. I've pulled the antenna out, the mast, and you can take this out by turning the car on, and when the motor turns and the antenna starts coming out, just pull it all the way out. It's just this. Here's the mast, and then it has this piece of plastic with grooves and teeth on it. It's just like a long gear, and then you see the end of it is just like this, and it's not broken and the teeth aren't stripped on it, although this antenna is not working. I suspect something is internally damaged. So you can pull this out when it's coming out, pull it all the way out. And so I've got the mast out of it, and you'll see now I'm going to pour some water over here, because either the water's getting in through the top in the hole here, or it's getting around the seal on the outside. And I've poured some water in it already, and I've determined certainly that it's coming in, riding down the antenna through the center hole, not through the seal on the body. It seems to be coming out of the bottom of the motor. So I'm gonna see if I can get a light here so you can check this out. Alright, so we'll pour some water in there, and then we can also see up this way where it's not leaking up there. It's dry. That's where it goes through. It's not leaking up there. I don't see any water, but you'll see here. I'm going to pour some water up here all on top of this. And you can see it's dripping straight out of the bottom. Off of that. I'll try one more time. I'll pour some more water in there. It's almost coming straight through. So I'm going to take this off. I'm going to undo this bolt and investigate why the water is falling straight through the antenna and not going out the drain tube out the body over there. So here goes. So in order to remove the antenna motor assembly, we're going to have to take this 10mm nut off, which mounts it, and we're going to have to remove this nut on the top. And this is, we'll take a special spanner wrench, but I'm just going to use a screwdriver. And you can just take it and bump it. Make sure you have a nice pointy flat screwdriver. This one's pretty good. And I'm just going to take it and put it on that flat edge there and just give it a good bump around and loosen it. Lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. Oh yeah, that's not too tight. And if your paint is good, you might want to be careful, maybe put a rag around it, so just in case you miss, you don't gouge your paint or your body. I'm not really worried about it. He's already had it painted twice, this car, so it's old. is the nut. Has a seal. I'm going to try not to mess with the seal because it's not leaking here. I'm just going to pull it out the bottom. Now we're going to take this 10mm nut off. Should be able to pull this out. Yeah, it's already dropped down. Now, this is our assembly. Took the hose out. It fits into a coupling back there, a rubber boot, so I just took it out of that. And it's definitely leaking out of the bottom out here. It seems like there's a drain hole specifically for that. I'm not sure, maybe there was another hole that was meant to be there, or for some reason it's getting from here down into here. And to disconnect the antenna, this just plugs into here. I'll just pull it out. So now I've got it free. Now I'm going to disassemble and see what's wrong with the antenna first of all, why it's not going up and down, and also see why the water is getting out of this hole, or maybe there's supposed to be a hose that goes from here to the outside of the body also. It's just not become disconnected. So I investigated the inside of the car, and it doesn't seem like there's any other hose that's missing or any place for this to go. So we need to figure out why the water is coming in here. So we're going to disassemble this first of all. Let's take this apart. So just Phillips screws. Let's see what we find in here besides water. So it looks like this hole is open, just right through there. Right down there it looks open, and this goes in, the antenna rides in through here. The antenna comes in through this hole down in the bottom, and then wraps around like this. So let's see what we got on this side. But as far as the water issue is concerned, so if water were to come down the chute of the mast and ride down into here, then it would, there's no seal to keep it out, and you can see that it would just flow straight out this side, out of the bottom, and then come down here and fall out of that hole, which is exactly what it's doing. So that tells me if there's no way to prevent the water from coming down, then certainly there must be a hose that connects to this to drain out the bottom. Two separate hoses, one here and one here. Because I don't see any way for it to seal the water from coming down here and just diverting it through this tube. So it seems that there is no, certainly I've looked at the car several times, there is not a drain hole that goes for this drain on the bottom. So I presume that the manufacturers expected this to never leak. And if you see down inside of that hole, I don't know if you can see in there or not, but there's a little rubber grommet in there. Push it out. Yeah. So this rubber seal is supposed to seat up with the bottom of this tube like this. And you can see that that's just not, I guess it's just lost its seal over time. Maybe it's been leaking the whole time. I just don't see how that's ever going to stop the water from going down the middle there. Just seems like it's shooting it right in there. So what I'm going to do is just let it leak, because it's leaking anyway. And I'm just going to add another piece of hose and tee it off with the existing drain, and then run them both out through the same hole. I'm just going to tee off from this one to this one. And I bought this universal pack of tees over here, and I'm just going to connect some vacuum hose that I already had, and then just tee it off and then put them both into the same drain, and then it won't drain into the car, it'll drain outside the car. While I've got it apart, I was going to see if I could diagnose what was wrong with the motor, and I've got a 9-volt battery hooked up here. Force 12 would be better, but I don't have the battery, and alligator clips would be very handy, but I don't have that. So what I do have is little pieces of copper. I wrapped one and stuck it into the black, the ground wire. One wire is going to make it, when I apply voltage to one wire, it'll make it turn one direction, and when I apply voltage to the other side, it should make it reverse. So let's see if I hit that one. You can see the gear turns off the motor. Perfect. And that's turning this way. It looks like it's running well. So here I've spliced in my T to prevent it from leaking. I've come off the bottom nipple. Just spliced in the hose here. Probably should have cut a little bit lower so we're straight across, because it is going to hold a little bit of water there until it fills up. But this is lower than this, so it will drain out. Probably should have cut it a little bit longer. Just misestimated there. But it's okay, it'll still work. And we're going to reinstall this, and that should solve the leaking problem. Alright, so I've got it all back together, and I put the antenna back in there. And so now I'm just going to reinstall it, hook this up to the drain, and now everything will drain outside the car, and we shouldn't get any more water in the back. So here goes. Just want to stick this up through here, put this on it, and then put the nut that goes on this. This one. Now this seal is important on the top, because that's what keeps water from seeping in here, from seeping in through the sides. So we're going to tighten that down. Make sure it's all the way up. I'm going to go ahead and give this a tighten. I'm pushing it up against the top as far as it'll go, and securing it. Okay, that should do it. That should be tight enough. All right, so we've got it secure in there now. Now we'll just make sure that it's not going to leak. Get a towel and mop up the rest of the water. Don't see any more water there. So there's definitely no water there. All right, so let's pour some water in. Just see. see any leaking happening there. Or there. Just to be sure, we'll check up here at the top. Doesn't look like there's any water there either. So I think we would probably solved the water issues now, since that's the only other place that the water could be coming from. And now I'll put it all back together and we'll be dry.